Hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and I'm your host, the Millennial Investor. And today we're going to be going over a very important video for those who are just beginning in the stock market. If they're curious how I value dividend companies, how do I pick the companies that I have on this list? What is the difference between them? How do I know which stocks are safe, which stocks are investable, and which are stocks I want to be putting money into? So some of the things we're going to be going over today, we're going to be going over JP Morgan is tightening their restrictions on home loans significantly. Johnson & Johnson just raised their dividend, about a 6.3% increase. The stock we're going to be showing is Honeywell, as far as how I value dividend companies and such like that. The reason I got the idea for this video was from a comment from however you say his name. I actually do have a video suggestion. You could bring up the most important key factors in a numerical analysis of a stock, such as price to earnings ratio, earnings per share, and payout ratio. Why they are important and what are the key levels to look for. So that's what we're going to be going over. We're going to be showing all those factors with Honeywell. This is a stock we're going to be using in question. The reason why I chose Honeywell is because this was a stock, as I mentioned in my previous video, I'd considered adding it to my portfolio and I still am. So we're going to use this stock to make a decision whether or not we're going to buy it. We're also going to be comparing some of the factors such as PE ratio compared to like the S&P. So first off, as usual, how we always get started with the videos, we're going to let you know that there is a link available if you do like what you see here, if you do like my videos, if you'd like to support me. If you're interested in using M1 Finance, there is this link right here. You can write it down, copy it, or the link is in the description of all of my videos, so make sure to copy that and then use that right here. And if you're interested in investing in my pie that I personally use with the 30 holdings that I have, there's a link in the description for that as well. As you can see here, we have an 11.91% return in the portfolio since we've started, a 178.56 gain, 177.19 has come from market gain, and $1.37 has come from earned dividends. For the day, we are up 1.28%, or about $21.15. $20.67 have come from market gain, and we did get another earned dividend today. The stock that we did claim their dividend from was Mid-America Apartment Communities. We got 48 cents from Mid-America Apartment Communities, and we'll be reinvesting that to the portfolio when we actually receive the check in a couple weeks. Some of the biggest gainers in the portfolio since we've begun, some of them have changed. Mid-America Apartment Communities and now moved up to second. Realty Income, both of these are REITs, are two of the highest in the portfolio. Whirlpool Corporation now leads the portfolio with a 25% gain. And if you go down here, we are only down on one stock, and that is Caterpillar stock. We are down about 19 cents or negative 0.42%. So one thing I wanted to point out real quick before I jump into the news, we go to the daily chart. If you see here, my biggest gainer, Johnson & Johnson, just reported earnings. They killed earnings. And if you go to my 4 losers on the day, 3 of them are the 3 banking stocks I own. So every single stock I own today is up, but the bank stocks are getting killed. And I'm going to show you why. So to lead off with the news, JP Morgan Chase tightens down on home lending. To get a home loan with JP Morgan, you need a 700 credit score and a 20% down payment. That is such high standards. Both Wells Fargo and JP Morgan, which are reporting earnings today, we're talking about how they're increasing their cash positions. They want to have extra reserves as we go into this recession. I think that this is necessary, and I like what they're doing. The one thing that I don't like, those who are wanting to purchase a home are now heavily restricted as before. A lot of people do not have a 700 credit score. And more importantly, a lot of people do not have a 20% down payment. I am in a state that does have very low price real estate. I believe we're the lowest in the nation, which is Oklahoma. But 20% down payment, especially if you're in a high cost of living area with homes that are 3, 4, 500,000 each. If you're wanting to go out and buy a $250,000 home, a $250,000 home, and you need a 20% down payment, that is $50,000 in cash. That is not even counting other things such as closing costs and upfront payments and stuff like that. $50,000 already just what you need. $50,000 is what you need already just to get approved for the loan, and that's not to mention that's even if you have a 700 credit score. So they are definitely bumping up what is required to get a home right now, and it's kind of a hate-love relationship, you know, because I do think that they do need to keep some reserves on hand. but at the same time, they're also making it harder for homes to be purchased. So, I'm kind of in between on the whole situation, but yeah, I'm going to be including that here in the video. And let's jump into the next news. We have Johnson & Johnson raise their dividend from 95 cents a share to $1.01, a 6.3% increase and beat Wall Street earning estimates and revenue expectations. This is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about dividend growth investing. The reason why I pick companies that are very safe, stable, long-term companies is because in the long run, they will raise their dividends every single year, if not most years, and you will usually get share price appreciation as well. So if we go to Johnson & Johnson here, they just raised their dividends 6.3%, and let's look at the last 5 years for Johnson & Johnson. So every single year, we'll see that Johnson & Johnson has raised their dividend every single year. They had 75 cents up to 80 cents to 84 cents to 90 to 95, and now they're up to $1.01 in the next quarter. Johnson & Johnson has a dividend yield of 2.72%. It will be a little bit higher than that after today's dividend raise. But not only will you get significant dividend payments and raises, you also would have made 39.05% over the last 5 years of the stock. This is the stock that is still up year to date, even with the massive recession that has come upon us. If you invested in the stock a year ago, you would still be up 2%, not to mention the dividend payments and the dividend raise you would have just received. So alone on the share price, you will still be making decent gains even with this market crash. Obviously, that would have been significantly higher share price gains before the recession, but this is even in a worst case scenario. So this is why I preach investing in long-term, safe dividend companies. So Johnson & Johnson, a very safe, stable company that I will not be selling in my portfolio anytime soon. I love to see that the first dividend raise in the portfolio comes within just about 2 weeks of me investing in it, and I'm sure we'll see others coming soon. I know off the top of my head, Apple should be raising their dividend really soon. Pepsi should as well. A lot of dividend raises will be coming over the next couple of months, and I'm really excited to see it. So jumping in here to Honeywell. Honeywell is a very safe, long-term investment. In Honeywell, we're going to look at some of the highlights of the company. So what I did, I searched Honeywell Investor Relations. This is where I'm at. I'm on their page for investors. They have roughly $37 billion in sales. They have an 8% 5-year adjusted earnings per share compounded annual growth rate. They have a 10% dividend increase in 2019. They have 106% 5-year total share owner return, and they have $6.3 billion in adjusted free cash flow. So these are just some of the highlights that the company has posted. This does not give you everything you need to know, obviously, about the company, but these are just some highlights to show some of the financial performance of the company. So what we're going to do is go to M1 Finance, and we're going to type in HON, which is Honeywell Stock. They currently yield 2.61%. So basically what that means, for every year you hold Honeywell as of today's share price and off of today's dividend payments, you will make 2.61% on your money. So basically, if you invested $100 into Honeywell, if you bought a little less than a share, you will make $2.61 a year in dividends. They just raised their dividend 10% in 2019 by 8 cents, which is about a 10% increase as the website showed. They have a PE ratio of 17.1. So let me describe what PE ratio is for those of you who don't know. So I'm going to show PE ratio for a Honeywell versus, say, like an Amazon. What a PE ratio is, it's how people value a company. This is what people's willingness to pay for a company is. So PE stands for price to earnings ratio. That means for every dollar of profit they make, this is what you pay times that. So if they make $1 in profit a year, you pay $17.10 for that dollar of profit. This is just the earnings. This is just the profit. This is not revenue. So this is only a metric that is really used for profitable companies. So basically, the higher that number, the more valuable people value that company. So I'm going to show you a couple examples. So Amazon, for example. Amazon is a very high-valued, high-growth company. Even to this day with its massive share price gains, you can see over the last 5 years, 463.18% share price gains. That is absolutely insane. They have a PE ratio of 88.7. So from a value proposition, if you didn't know anything about the company and you're strictly looking at share price, Honeywell would be the better buy. Now, obviously, that doesn't tell the whole story. Honeywell has not performed nearly as well as, say, Amazon over the last 5 years, and that's because Amazon has a much larger footprint on the economy, they have a much larger market cap, and they, more importantly, have a wide plethora of revenue streams, and they honestly have a lot of future growth and current revenue growth that is absolutely massive. So that is the reason why a company is paying such a higher PE ratio than that. But let's compare it to some struggling industries right now. So let's go to Carnival Cruise Lines, for example. Carnival trades at a PE of 4.6. So that means of the profit that Carnival Cruise Line gets, people are only willing to pay about 4.5 times what that profit is. The reason being is that with the illness that has taken place, people are worried about Carnival Cruise Line's future. They have had to take on some more debt, and they've just recently canceled their dividend. So people are not paying as high as a PE ratio for Carnival Cruise Lines as they would, say, a Honeywell or an Amazon. Another example is American Airlines. American Airlines has a PE ratio of 3.3. This is a company that is potentially facing bankruptcy. I know they've had the bailout with the government, so I'm not really sure as to whether or not that'll happen. So 3.3 times is one of the lowest I have ever seen for a stock. It is absolutely ridiculous. This stock was trading under $10 for a while, and they do have a good dividend yield. Whether or not they'll be able to keep that, who knows? And they have underperformed over the last 5 years. But comparing that to a Honeywell. So Honeywell trades at a PE ratio of 17.1. So how is that compared to the S&P 500? Well, right now, the average PE ratio for the S&P 500 is 15.79, so about 15.8. So you can look here, this is a chart comparing it to historical times in history versus what the PE ratio is now versus what it usually is. 15.8 is about average, so it's about somewhere around here where my mouse is right here. 15.8 is pretty good for a stock, and right now, Honeywell trades at 17.1. Now, the reason why Honeywell trades at a slight premium above the market is because the safe dividend that they have. What a lot of investors know, especially dividend investors know, is that dividend payments, if the company is safe and stable, like the Johnson & Johnson that just raised their dividend, Honeywell, there is a 90% chance that Honeywell will continue to pay their dividends. So regardless as to whether or not the stock goes back down to $103 or it shoots back up to $180, I will be getting those dividend payments regardless. So it doesn't really matter a whole lot where the share price gains go, and I know that in the long run, 1, 2, 3 years out from now, we'll go back to the steady uptrend, and we'll go well above 180 in the future, 1, 2, 3 years from now. So the reason why dividend investing is so important, in my opinion, is because you will be getting dividend payments no matter what. Another thing about dividend payments, so let's go back to my portfolio here. I said I was up on nearly all of my positions except I was down on Caterpillar stock. So let's take a look at Caterpillar stock. I am down 3 pennies, so I'm almost break even. When I buy Caterpillar stock now, my break even price is $115.52. So now when I buy Caterpillar stock, I am lowering my cost basis and my dividend yield is higher than what it was before. So what I'm going to show you is how dividend yields are calculated. So the lower a stock goes in price, the higher the dividend yield, and then the higher a stock goes in price, the lower the dividend yield. So it's an inverse relationship. So what I'm going to show you here, I'm going to use Carnival Cruise Lines. We just showed you that, and the math is really easy, so you can pull out your calculator and do it as well. Carnival Cruise Lines, before they cut it, paid $2 a year in dividends. So if you take $2, and let's say the share price was $50, what it was back here just a couple months ago. So if you take 2 and divide that by 50, you'll get 0.04. So that means you'll make 4% a year in dividends. So for every $100 you buy, you'll get $4 in dividends. When the stock price lowers, let's say that the stock goes from $50 down to $40. So if you take 2 and divide that by 40, you will get 0.05. So now instead of 4%, you are getting 5% dividend yield. So this is why dividend investing, it's good to buy stocks while they're low, because not only will you get share price gains in the future, but you'll also get higher dividend yields. You'll get better dividends for your money. So you'll get 5% instead of 4%. So let's take it to where it looks at now. Let's say it's dropped recently. Let's say it goes down to $20. So you take 2 and divide that by 20. That is 0.1. So that is a 10% dividend yield. A 10% dividend yield. Now, obviously that didn't say that it was unsafe. We can compare this to other companies. So like ExxonMobil, for example, is an oil company that has really been struggling with the oil price war and everything going on. Right now they have an 8% dividend yield. That already is probably a red flag. I'm not sure as to whether or not they'll be able to keep that. I haven't researched ExxonMobil enough, but I do know that they're struggling. That already being well over 8% is a huge red flag. You can see their PE ratio is very low because they are having a questionable future with oil prices. People do know that they're not going to go bankrupt, but they will be struggling for quite a while more than likely because of the price of oil. So when we look at dividend yields, a Honeywell is not super high. It's kind of average. I mean, usually in my portfolio, I want to get at least 3%. Right now, I yield about 4%, but I want to get at least 3% of my portfolio. That's the reason I didn't add it. Like I mentioned in some of my other videos, this is closely compared to a 3M. If we look at 3M here, their PE ratios are very close, very similar. 3M has a dividend yield, though, that is over 4%. Versus Honeywell's that has a dividend that is about 2.5%. As you can see here, it's 2.61. So that is a significantly higher dividend yield. And another thing about 3M is that they're also a dividend aristocrat. They've raised their dividends for, I believe, 62 years in a row. They just raised it this quarter, another 3 cents. But comparing 3M to Honeywell, their valuation is really similar, but their dividend yield is higher. Both of the dividends are safe. I picked 3M because they have a larger portfolio of products, but they also have a higher dividend yield. The PE ratio is really close for the both of them, and Honeywell is a stock that I've considered adding. So let's go to their investor relations page and start looking. So let's try the company tab, and let's just hit About Us. So you can read a little bit about their categories here. Or first, before I show that, let's click Industries, and let's show all the different industries that they're in. So they're in aerospace, they're in building and cities, chemicals and materials, industrial and manufacturing, retail, safety, sporting goods, and the supply chain. So if you read here on the What We Do, this will just give you a couple comments about 4 of their different sectors. They have the aerospace, they have more fuel-efficient aircraft, more direct and on-time flights, safer skies and airports will be found on virtually every commercial, defense, and airspace aircraft. On the building and technology side, over 100 years ago, we defined energy efficiency by making indoor comfort automatic. Today, we redefine it in 10 million buildings using our technology. That already tells you something you need to know. They are over 10 million buildings they have their technology inside of. So that's something to take account already right there, the kind of imprint that this large company has. Performance materials and technologies. We pioneered automation control, so we understand the complex industrial facilities and how to create high quality and high performance chemicals and materials. That gives you a little insight to that sector. And then last, they have safety and productivity solutions. Each year, we have over 500 million workers safer and more productive with voice-enabled software, barcode scanners, mobile computers, and protective equipment. So that gives you an idea of some of the highlights of the sectors that they have. And so let's just pick one here. We're in the industry, so let's just pick retail. So retail is an industry that has been struggling lately because of the virus that has been going around. So Honeywell's retail section, if you look here, it'll show you some highlights and some information about the company. So you see here they have a bunch of different sections. So let's pick this one, 3 trends that are upgrading shopping. This will show you that Honeywell is investing in future technologies and noticing trends in the retail space and their other sectors as well. Consumer habits are always changing. Honeywell obviously recognizes that and they want to take advantage of that. So the other thing that they're looking at is eliminating lines. People are using mobile shopping and online shopping and they're ordering from their homes. Honeywell is making an investment in that space. Long lines cost retailers, literally. Honeywell obviously knows this, and they're also looking at loyalty programs, lots of things such as, like a Costco, for example. Costco is a stock that has thrived very well over recent years, and they are a large big box store where you buy in bulk. Costco, for example, they have loyalty programs such as their membership that people pay every single year on an annual basis. And what they do is they charge them, I believe it's $55 a year, but they get cheaper prices because they get to buy in bulk. Now, Costco has a very high PE ratio. They have a 35 PE ratio because people know that it's safe even in this recession. If anything, it's probably booming in this recession because people are spending more at grocery stores now than they are ever before. Costco buys in bulk, like I mentioned, so people are buying in bulk to get prepared for this illness that is taking place and to hopefully stay safe during the recession. So Costco is a perfect example. This shows you just an idea of one section of what Honeywell looks like. So what we're going to do here, we're back at the investor relations page for Honeywell, and we're going to go to this sustainability tab. There's a lot of different tabs here that you all can look at. I'm just kind of showing you the highlights to give you an idea of what a company can show you just by going on their investor relations page and doing just a couple minutes of research about them. So they're definitely focused on the long term, as you can see here from the sustainability. I'm just going to look at some of the highlights. Reducing global greenhouse gases. In 2018, we exceeded our public goal of improving our greenhouse gas intensity by more than 10% from a 2013 baseline. So as you can see here, they're reducing their global greenhouse gases. They're focusing on things such as global warming, as you can see here, boosting energy efficiency. Since 2010, our facilities have implemented more than 4,300 efficiency projects, including building, automation and controls, lighting and mechanical upgrades, saving more than $80 million annualized. We have increased our energy efficiency by 70% over that time span. This is what I was talking about when they said that they were in 10 million buildings. This is why, because they have the technology to boost energy efficiency, as you can see from the statistics right there. As you can see here, they're doing other things such as conserving water. Since 2011, we've implemented more than 150 water conservation projects in these areas, saving over 127 million gallons, reducing waste. I can go on, providing a safe working environment, creating eco-efficient products. This is a company that is not only a very safe, stable investment, but they are also sustainable for the long term as they are focused on global warming and other economic issues. And I think another reason that this is so important, as our generation, the younger generation, the millennials, the Gen Z, they are more focused on the imprint that these companies have in regards to affecting our planet. So like for example in ExxonMobil, the oil companies are not invested very heavily by my generation. People do not see the future for oil companies. I don't necessarily either. And a company like Honeywell is focusing on the future. So as generations get more and more focused on things such as global warming, a company like Honeywell is focused on that. So let's look at one last thing for Honeywell. Let's look at the payout ratio. Something that I haven't mentioned is so important for dividend investing, which is the payout ratio. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go to Google and we're going to click HON Honeywell Stock Payout Ratio. We're going to look at their payout ratio for their trailing 12 months. So we're going to click this article here. I just did this search at random. And you can see here they have an annual dividend yield that shows their dividend yield and their annual dividend payments, their dividend growth over the 3-year average, and then we have the payout ratio here. So let's look at this line right here, which is most important, the trailing 12 months of earnings. They have a 44% trailing 12 months of payout ratio. So basically, this is what I'm showing you. So J&J, for example, they reported $2.30 per share. What that means is for every share that is out in the market for J&J, they make $2.30 in profit. $2.30 of pure profit. That's not revenue, that is just profit. So if they were to pay out 10% in payout ratio, that means that they would pay out 10% of this number, $2.30. That means J&J would pay a 23% dividend or a 10% payout ratio, if that makes sense. So the same thing goes for Honeywell. They have a 44% payout ratio. That is pretty safe. That means that they pay out less than half of their profits in the form of dividends. So that means you could cut their profits in half tomorrow and they would still be a profitable company that could afford to pay out their dividends. So that is a very safe payout ratio. If their payout ratio was significantly higher, such as 80%, 90%, 95%, that means they would be paying out nearly all of their profits in dividends and it would have no room to grow. A 44% dividend yield means that they could literally double it overnight and still pay that dividend no problem. So this is why I would consider adding it to the portfolio, because it has a lot of growth ahead. And you can see the dividend raises here over quarters. And they have 9 years of consecutive dividend growth, and I'm sure that it will go much past 9 years over the coming decades. But this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about safe dividend growth companies. That dividend will grow. It has so much room to grow. Even if their sales go down from this recession, which they probably will, they will not only be able to sustain that dividend with the 44% payout ratio, they will more than likely still be able to raise that in the coming months. So I think Honeywell is a very good, safe, stable dividend stock that a lot of people should consider adding to their portfolio, and I'm trying to decide whether or not I want to do that as well. So let me know down in the comments whether or not you want to add Honeywell to your portfolio, we're going to go into one last thing, and we're going to show the financials of the company. So what kind of financial position is this company in? So we're going to go to the balance sheet of Honeywell. So if you look here, Honeywell has a very safe, stable balance sheet. I showed this in my previous video when I was talking about valuing companies and looking at their financial positions. This shows from the end of 2016 to the end of 2019. So this was before the recession started, just in the last couple weeks. You can see here they had $7 billion in cash, 7 again, 9 and 9. So it's a steady, slow increase up in cash and cash equivalents. If you scroll down to their long-term debt here, which is a very important factor, especially in a recession scenario, their long-term debt goes from 12 billion, 12 again, 9, 11. So their long-term debt is going down, but their cash position is going up. That is a very good, financially healthy signal for a company as far as their financials go. That is something you want to see. Their assets are going up. You can look at all this balance sheet. I'm not going to go one by one, but you can see that they are a stable, safe, growing company. So this is a company that you would want to invest in for the long term. But let me know down in the comments whether or not you think I should buy Honeywell stock, if you'll be adding it to your portfolio. As usual, if you like this video and you enjoy watching my content, make sure to use this link down below in the description. And there's also a link down below if you want to use my portfolio to invest in. You can get $10 and I can get $10 as well. And I'll be putting that in the portfolio, and I will mention you in the video as well. So as I showed you, we did have a person comment down below and mention an idea for a video. So I'd love to see someone else mention an idea for a video down in the comments, and I'd love to address it in a future video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it to the end, make sure to smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, smash the notification bell, and I'll see you next time.